Hello and welcome to this Opalis webcast on disaster recovery, responding to an application state. My name is Adam Hall and I'm the Senior Technical Product Manager for Opalis. In this scenario, we're going to take a web server failing and we're going to attempt to remediate fixing whatever is wrong with it. When that fails, we're then going to raise a change request into Service Manager, await the approval, and then restart the server. Now what this scenario is answering is our ability to restart a machine, or in another alternative option, we could scale out based on poor performance, based on the application state that we monitor. In this first part, I'm going to talk through how we create this workflow, and then in part two, I'm going to show you the workflow actually running so you can see how that operates. So as we jump across to the Opalis designer here, we got a blank piece of paper. So to start off with, we're going to create a new policy. We can rename that one, and we'll call this part 1. Now we've got a scenario where we want to take an application state. So the first thing we're going to do is take an operations manager activity monitor state, and we'll drag that one out onto the canvas. The next thing we're going to want to do is, we now know that the web server has stopped working. A common remediation for this is to restart the service. So we'll go and take a look at what that service is actually running, and to do that we'll take the get service status and drag that one out. Now we can check what the status actually is. In this scenario, we're going to cause the web server to fail by stopping a bunch of services and disabling them. So the first remediation that we're going to attempt is to restart that service, a fairly common procedure at the basic level. Now in this scenario, we're going to deliberately cause the service to not be able to start. This is where we need to start kicking in, integrating with Service Manager. So we'll go down to Service Manager, and we're going to want to create a change request based on a template so that we can get authorization to restart the server. We drag that one out. A couple of other things that we're going to want to do. We're going to want to assign the person who's responsible for this change request, so we'll need to get that object, and we will want to create a relationship between that object and the change request. Now in the event that anything goes wrong, we'll want to create an incident so that we can follow up. And there we have the basis of our workflow. What we can do now is link these together, and I'll show you how these all kind of hang together. These go straight through. These are all the successful criteria on the way through. We'll link all those together. And one more. Oop, grab the wrong one. There we go. Put that across to there. Now, in the event that anything goes wrong, we want to be able to create an incident. So we know that getting the service status and the service starting may well fail. We don't need to raise an incident when the service fails to start, because that's the whole point of the remediation. We do, however, want to know if creating the change request fails, and we also want to see if setting up the user or creating the authorization fails as well. And there we have the first part of our workflow to respond to an application state, and in the event of not being able to remediate it, we want to raise a change request to restart the server. Now what we'll do is we'll create another policy, and we'll rename this. We'll call this, ironically, part 2, and in this one we're going to monitor Service Manager, and upon approval of that change request, we're then going to kick in and restart the virtual machine. So under Service Manager, we have a little monitor object activity here. This is what's going to be monitoring Service Manager. Once we've got approval to that, we are going to want to integrate with Virtual Machine Manager. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is to identify, based on the server name, which VM guest instance is what we're going to interact with and restarting. So we need to get that VM identity. First thing we'll do before restarting it, of course, is create a snapshot or a checkpoint so that we can get back in the event that anything goes wrong. We will then want to shut down the VM, and what we'll do with that one is we'll set it looping, because it can take a little bit of time to shut down a server. So we'll say every 10 seconds poll that box and see if it has indeed shut down. Once it is successfully shut down, which we are polling for, we then want to start it back up again, thus completing the restart phase. Now that the server's back up, we will want to go back to Operations Manager and check that monitor has gone green. As with the previous workflow, we'll go back to Service Manager, and in the event anything goes wrong, we want to create a second incident. Now, as with the other one, we just need to click on the right button, link these together. These are the successful linkages going all the way across. My mouse work's not working so well today. Away, there we go. Link that one together, link that one together, and link that one together. Now, we certainly want to know if we are unable to get the VM. We certainly want to know if the snapshot fails, if shutting down the server fails for a new reason. Excuse my mouse work on this demo, there we go. If the VM fails to restart, we certainly want to know, and indeed if we then check the monitor and that has failed to resolve the issue, we want an incident raised as well. And there we have the creation of that workflow. Very simply, we are able to be alerted to the application state, and when that monitor has gone into an unhealthy state, we're able to do some basic remediation tasks, and these tasks could be anything. For this example, I'm just trying to restart the service, but you could run any manner of remediation tasks here, and then we're going to create a change request to reboot the server. You may wish to create an incident and then follow that on with a change request, depending on what your processes look like. For this demonstration, we're just going to raise a change request and then work that through. And then in the second part, we're picking up the approval of that change request, snapshotting the VM, shutting it down, starting it up again, and getting the monitor. And that's how you build an Opalis workflow. In part 2, which you can watch in the second video, I will run these workflows so you can see them in action. Hope you enjoyed the Webcast.